We are live. Cerebral Palsy Life. We are talking about cerebral palsy life and expectancy of a cerebral palsy born child. I'm Michael Avatar. I live in Thailand. I was born in Sweden with a severe cerebral palsy. This is for people who wants to have a new experience of how live a life. Uh, Everything I do is because I believe that every person can make a difference in the world. Every single one. Uh, this is a very rare subject that I talk about, but I felt like this Monday morning here in Thailand. So what can you expect if you're a parent or have a friend who has cerebral palsy? I was born 68, 1968. The expectancy of my life was very low. I was born dead 45 minutes. After 3 minutes, there is severe brain damage. After 6 minutes, probably that person will never walk, never turn himself in bed, eat by himself, or talk very good. The medical advanced have changed that a lot, but still 6 minutes without oxygen to the brain, it will make a big damage in that person. I was dead for like 45 minutes. I used to say to people, I had to think 45 minutes before I decided to come to this crazy world. So it says in my journal, I have a severe cerebral palsy. I couldn't walk. I couldn't even stand up in my cage when I was a little boy until I was maybe 2, 3 years old. I don't have exact numbers, but the expectancy of me living until I was 40 was 0. Even 15 years old, 0. I'm 53 now. The expectancy of a born baby with cerebral palsy is, in a study I checked out in Australia, it's around 58 years. Most of them expect to live more. If you're born after 85, I was born in the 60s. It's much lower number. 40 years is like a barrier from the people from the born in the 60s. I was a researcher assistant for cerebral palsy 30 years ago. I did research for 10 years, 10 whole years. Breathing technique for people with cerebral palsy. I was in a group and we learned them how to breathe, and it changed their life, many of them, because I breathe and talked for inhale and not exhaled. When I was little boy, my hands was like this. My feet was opposite of Charlie Chaplin, inwards instead of outwards. I fall all the time, but I started training judo when I was 7 because the neighbor was training judo and he was my best friend. So I learned how to grab and how to have balance, take out my feet and not be like opposite of Charlie Chaplin. So they studied for 10 years. I tested 7-8% of all the children and grown-ups, people with cerebral palsy in Sweden. 7-8% I tested. In Sweden, it's about 4,500 people with cerebral palsy. It's 9 million in Sweden, so there is like 2.5 child for every 1,000 children that are born with cerebral palsy. And I couldn't find people. The 300 I tested, I only tested 2 or 3 over 45 years old. 2, 3 of 300. Because what happened is, this is my theory, my analysis of this study, that when you're 40 and you have shaken like this for 40 years, you have really pain in your body. You have, I had really pain in my body when I was 40 years old. I had to have warm bath 2-3 times a day because I was living in a cold country, Sweden. So many start take medicine for pain, and they increase the medical thing. So normally they are dead before 50, not because they have cerebral palsy. It's because the medical creates liver dysfunction and all other stuff in your body. So that was my conclusion from the study. Nowadays, there was a study in Australia, 4,000 people with cerebral palsy, and expectancy of their life is quite normal to the other population in that area. You can't compare different parts of the world. I don't think here in Thailand, where I live now, that they have studies from cerebral palsy. I think I've seen one person with cerebral palsy in 12 years in Thailand. I live here full time. One, and there is 68 million people living in Thailand. They hide them. I get thrown out from temple, restaurants, whatever, because they believe if you have cerebral palsy or any kind of disease here in Thailand, the Buddhist religion think that we were a very bad person in our previous life. But you can believe anything you want. In Sweden, I couldn't go to a certain restaurant because they thought I had drugs. Different perspective. So if you are different in life, they try to shut you out from living a normal life. And that's why I want to make this movie for parents, for other people to understand that to be born with this severe cerebral palsy, the expectancy of living a normal life, that's kind of zero. Kind of go to a normal school, uh, fall in love, have children, have a family, have a normal work, have whatever normal stuff that most people can do. The expectancy from you, especially if you're born dead 45 minutes, that's zero. So you really need to be free in your thinking, and thinking they are the people who you meet are uneducated. Never mind what they tell you, just focused on what you want to create in your life. That's the matter. Um, if I haven't been born with cerebral palsy, probably I had gone to the normal Olympic. I went to Paralympic. Uh, I trained from I was 10, 12 years old, 10 years. And then they told me there is this thing called Paralympic. And I thought, wow, now it's simple to go to Paralympic. So 96 I was in Paralympic. I broke a world record in long jump. I had it for 12 years and so on. But the expectancy age for people with cerebral palsy rise because they get new knowledge. My mom, they wanted to operate my hands, they want to operate my feet, but she never let them operate. My mom had hated medical stuff, so I had no medicine. I was lucky. Some of my friends from the time, because they put us together in different groups, because they didn't know better. They are dead. They are not living now. They had one operation, 2 operation, 10 operation, 15 operation, and their body stops to work because they can't handle all the operations. That's one fail. I'm not an expert. I don't even say anything with a medical point of view. I just want to honestly tell a story about what you can expect from a child with cerebral palsy. Um, I couldn't write with a pen because I shake, so I had a typewriter. Now I write on the computer. It's much more easy. Speech recognition program work very hard because I speak differently. I have friends who are, I'm also a writer. I wrote this book here, Life Reset. But I have friends, they write with their nose, they write with their feet, they write. You can, I had one, I don't know, I think she's dead now. She had a very bad accident. She wrote with her eyes. That was the only thing in her body she could move. But she wrote books with her eyes. Everything is possible. I have met many with cerebral palsy. They get pushed down, their low self-esteem, because the environment around them are very tough. And to see beyond that and create your way of living with cerebral palsy, I shouldn't use the word strong, but kind of you have to be really committed, really committed. In 2009, I had so much pain in my body. I really suffered. I had really pain. I had to go abroad to warm up my body. I ended up in Thailand, and after 3 days, I had no pain. So 3 months later, when I came to Sweden, I just lived in Thailand for 3 months. And the 9th December 2009, I went to Thailand permanently, because why should I live in my native-born country with pain when I can live in Thailand with no pain? So I moved. I really didn't know anyone here. I had no family here, no friends. I had very little money. I just did it. Normal people don't do it. Most of the people moving to Thailand, they are all much older than me. They have much more money than me. But you can survive here, and I'm really pain-free here. So my life expectancy gets higher, and since I been a researcher and couldn't find people over 50 years old when I did my research for this professor. I don't take medicine. I thought, let's do this. This is a bit longer movie that I normally do on a Monday, but I thought this subject was very important to inspire people, parents, and other people who don't know the struggle people with cerebral palsy has. Tomorrow I will have a different movie. I'm doing a live stream of 100 live streaming broadcasting. I think this was 89. So there is like 88 movies on my YouTube channel, Facebook page for my live stream. There is a lot of stuff, previous YouTube about cerebral palsy. You can check it out. They are a bit older. There is like 200, nearly 50 movies now on my YouTube channel about different stuff. I'm a life coach. I'm an artist. I make movies. I do a lot of stuff that I'm not quite normal person. A normal person don't do 100 live streaming to practice live streaming. So enjoy your day, enjoy your Monday, and I see you tomorrow. Oh, take care.